Hello, it's Anasika here, and today I have a trifold to share with you. I'm using the Craft Trifold by Graphic 45. It's a folio album of sort, and I plan on decorating this folio using the Alice's Tea Party collection. I'll be using stickers, chipboard, and of course the beautiful patterned papers. Oh, just look at these. These are so beautiful. And I'm just picking out one sheet of every pattern to have on my desk, but I will end up using more than just 6 pattern paper pieces. But it's really good to lay this out in front so I can see what I want to use on my cover and which ones I want to have on the larger spreads. Absolutely gorgeous. Just love all these images. So beautiful. Now when I'm planning an album, I start by measuring the album itself and seeing what size I need for the pattern papers. And I usually like to have a frame around each and every pattern paper. So like I do here, for each and every piece of the album, I'll just write it down onto the chipboard itself so that I don't forget what I plan on cutting, and this way I won't have any tiny little pieces of paper floating around and losing them. And I will have all the measurements in the description box below so that you can follow along if you want to use them as a guide. You can of course decorate more or less. It all just depends on the look you are going for. Now that I've cut all the pieces down to size, I'll be inking the edges of each and every pattern paper. For this album I'm using tea dye distress ink. That is just a really mild, I guess, brownish tone, and I think it went very well with the chipboard folio itself, and it fits all the papers. Doesn't matter if they are the pinkish one or the blue ones, they all get the same treatment. I really like using distress ink for my edges because I do love that little vintage feel, and it just makes them, I don't know, I guess it creates a hint of a frame of sort to each and every pattern paper. And now that they're all inked, all I have to do now is to stick these to where I want them, and I like to keep them in the album as to where I want them to be placed, and that way I am less likely to lose anything on my desk. It has happened. So now I just need to stick these, and because of the pocket I just cut it down to the size that it needed lengthwise and height, and then I use my bone folder just to score at the edge of that pocket, and that way I have a like an ish measurement. I am not being too precise, so I'm just using that score line and cutting on that, basically on that score line, and then I will move the paper slightly so that I'm cutting a little bit more off the paper. As you see here, it needs a bit more frame. Then I'll just put it back into the trimmer and cut a wee bit off. And it's a great way to use your pencil to mark where you want things to stop or end. It just helps with the all the planning and stuff. And since this is chipboard, it's very easy to erase anything that you do with a light pencil, really. And then the paper is ready. All I have to do now is ink the edges like I did to every other paper, and just stick it down with your favorite adhesive. Now for the waterfall pages, I cut the pattern paper down to 6 1/4 to 4 1/4. So if you put a 4x6 photo onto these pattern papers, you will always have a decorative frame. Now I have pattern paper on both sides, the front and back, but I did cut out some light blue cardstock for some of these flaps, and I thought that might be a good idea if people wanted to do a bit of journaling and stuff, so they had quite a large space to write them down. I mean, of course you can write on some of the pattern papers, but I just wanted to have like the option of having a clean background if I wanted to do a lot of journaling, so that it wouldn't get lost in the pattern. Now this flap has a magnet and a bit of a chipboard square to it. So I decided to use a very strong adhesive. I'm using scrap.com double-sided tape on this one. And I basically added adhesive around the magnet square itself and onto it. And then I used the same tape on the pattern paper. Now that way I am sure that it will stick and stay. Because of that little extra, I guess you could say, elevation of sort, you need to make sure that things aren't going anywhere. I guess you could also use foam adhesive if it is the same width or height, or thickness should be the word I'm looking for, then that might work. But I want to give this a try, and maybe if I'll do another one of these, I'll see how it works with a foam tape. Of course, it will be a wee bit thicker whole way through, but it might work just as beautifully as a very strong double-sided adhesive. Now I'm just removing the backing, and when I place the pattern paper onto this section, I recommend using a bone folder, just in order to make sure that the adhesive is really sticking to that pattern paper, because I wouldn't want this one to accidentally move or crumble. So I'm just pushing down where the adhesive is to make sure that this is not gonna move at all. And then I just keep filling in those blanks with these beautiful papers. And the mini is almost done. Now for the cover of the mini, I wanted to have a simple background, and then I cut a large image from one of the pattern papers as the decorative piece. And since that is going to be quite the focal point of the cover, I decided to use foam tape on that. You can use any foam tape you have. I'm using a 2-inch width one and a 1-inch width. Well, I want to make sure that I cover almost everything. You could of course cover every single inch, but at least I went for covering mostly everything, just to make sure that it doesn't crumble on the cover. It doesn't, I guess, have any holes in it, or as few as possible. And then I'm just sticking that to the front. Sorry, my head is there in the corner. I'm just trying to see if it's centered-ish. I'm not measuring that much. I'm just going by gut, I guess. And then I wanted to add a bit of decoration, both on the inside and the cover. So I picked a few chipboard pieces that I wanted to use, and some of those stickers, and place them where I thought they would look lovely. I use a little nail file to remove those little nibs of the chipboard pieces, and then I ink the edges of the chipboard pieces themselves so that they match the pattern papers completely. And this also gives the chipboard a bit more depth, and because the edges are a bit, well, white-ish, I like to add the ink so that they look a bit more weathered, I guess. I like that look. And then I also just use a very strong double-sided adhesive to stick these down. And then I just place them where I think they will look the best on the album. So for the cover I used the roses and the die cut blue flowers, and I added a bit of glitter to the kettle and cups, as well as a bit of glossy accent to bring them a bit more out. And then I added paper to the back and the sides of the album, and I just placed the flat embellishments underneath the larger flowers, and butterflies here and there, and those beautiful pearls, of course. And there are a few inserts as well. This is just craft cardstock and some stickers to decorate a bit. So these are great for journaling and for photos. And I stuck this one down so that you can actually put a photo underneath the frame itself. And then there's like a booklet of sorts for photos and or journaling. A bit of stickers at each corner. And I didn't decorate those pockets because those pattern papers are just beautiful. And then I put a large insert to hold a larger photo or plenty of journaling. And I used the ephemera piece to decorate that. And there you have a chipboard piece and the flap decorated. And then you can just flip through. You have pattern papers on both sides and can be used for journaling as well. I really like this folio because it's very user friendly, so you don't have to be a crafter to use this. By that I mean there are no hidden pockets or anything like that. So if somebody is not used to making their own minis, they can easily use this one, just adding photos and journaling and just enjoying the beautiful pattern papers. Well, thank you so much for watching, and please share your own creations if you are inspired by this video. I would love to see. Until next time, bye.